The 1960s were a pivotal time in American history. With the Civil Rights Movement, the Vietnam War, and other dramatic events, not much time was left for an exploration of the arts. Prior to 1967, there was little public art in Chicago. Yet when Picasso donated a giant black steel sculpture, it paved the way for a new public art movement. The public art movement in Chicago was started by Picasso's statue and has grown into an ever-expanding feature of the city, attracting tourists and improving the lives of Chicago's residents and the urban community.
Picasso was born in 1881 in Malaga, Spain. His background in art typically included paintings, yet when he was asked to create a piece of public art for Chicago by Dick Bennett, the architect behind the Daley Center, he happily complied. Picasso constructed his untitled sculpture, marking the first major piece of public artwork Chicago has ever had. When the mayor attempted to pay him for his service, Picasso refused, saying it was a gift to Chicago. This gift so began Chicago's journey through public art. This tall, black, mysterious mass of steel marked the beginning of Chicago's love for contemporary art. People were at first disturbed by its ambiguity of shape and defiance to the industrial city center around it, but ultimately found themselves intrigued by its enigmatic presence. It has been said to be a woman's face, but Picasso never disclosed what the statue was inspired by. This ambiguity allows for the viewer to create their own unique interpretation of the statue, take in and observe her grace captured through flowing curves of the statue's edges. On this rare occasion that Picasso made a sculpture, he created both a controversial yet loved icon of Chicago. This untitled work of Picasso provides not only a photographic destination and commonplace for tourists, but a marvel for general art appreciators. Sparking the city's love for contemporary art would later lead to the passing of the Percent for Art Ordinance, requiring buildings to set aside 1.33% of its annual construction and renovation budget for citywide art purchases. It essentially opened Chicago's door to an increased number of installations. This national and even world-renowned statue provides a familiar image to those who visit our city. As one examines the statue more and more, it becomes clear to the viewer the piece's purpose and shape. The Picasso is like a good friend. It reveals itself to you little by little as you come to know it.
Cow Parade was an international exhibit that was brought to Chicago in 1999. This exhibit had origins in Zurich, Switzerland, but Chicago-based artists were inspired by Walter Knopp, so they bidded on having the exhibit here. Over 300 local artists decorated fiberglass cows and put them in front of local businesses or even iconic places such as the Sears Tower in Millennium Park and even some hanging off the State Street Bridge. These cows represented a familiarity, a lightheartedness, humbleness, and a sort of amenity brought to the city. The thing that made this specific exhibit so special was the purpose of it. Cow Parade obviously highlighted local artists' talents, but after the exhibit concluded, the cows were auctioned off, with the proceeds going to charity. This exhibit was so powerful due to its lasting effect it had on the community. Local artists were hired for the job, so they got to promote their work. Local businesses benefited through selling cheesy knickknacks such as miniature cows, which are actually sold in different novelty stores to this day. The Chicago Office of Tourism cited that Cow Parade Chicago was one of the most popular tourist attractions in Chicago, producing roughly $100 to $200 million in revenue from the free exhibit. Although much of the Cow Parade exhibit is gone today, lasting remnants are still existent. For example, there is a permanent bronze cow statue located outside of the Chicago Cultural Center in the Loop. Also, the idea of the Cow Parade reached beyond just Chicago. The artist that headed this program, Walter Knopp, went on to create cow parades in 50 other countries. Throughout the 12 years Cow Parade has been in effect, it has generated over $20 million just for charity.
Alexander Calder, the modern-day creator of artistic mobiles, was able to bring the trendy ideas of motion and kineticism to even his static pieces, exhibiting movement in his sculpture, the Flamingo. The pink-red flamingo flies its vivid colors in Federal Plaza, a place frequently used for public demonstration against governmental policies. It's almost a piece of rebellion, placed in a center of business with its bright colors creating contrast against the dark, bland buildings around it. Its sheer size of 53 feet and weight of 30 tons attests to its artistic audacity, competing with the high-rises and centers of business. Just as Calder was through his innovative art pieces, the Flamingo is a pioneer in itself, daring to inspire and bring whimsy and playfulness to a conformed, uptight, businesslike atmosphere. This polarity between art and the working world creates almost a relieving and light-hearted feeling, one that draws people from in and outside of the city to its public art piece. Calder's innovation in creation of this piece paved the way for many other artists to push the limits and create brightly colored abstract pieces. Marc de Suvero, an American sculptor, has attributed much of the themes in his sculptures to Calder, represented in de Suvero's clock knot. The similarities between Calder's and de Suvero's pieces are striking, demonstrating Calder's heavy impact on the public art scene, not only in Chicago, but around the world.
Cloud Gate is one of the most well-known art installations in Chicago, famous for its odd bean shape and striking reflectiveness. It's a popular tourist attraction that draws photographers to its unique reflective properties. The reflection distorts the city skyline, giving the viewers a new and warped view of the famed buildings behind them. Completed in 2006, Cloud Gate is affectionately known as the Bean, which attests to the sculpture's strange bean shape. It brings an element of humor to the contrasting, tall, severe buildings that surround the area, making it a popular destination for families and children at heart. As arguably the most iconic and unique art piece in Chicago, Cloud Gate draws many people from all over the world to make them smile. However, it was not always sure that the Bean would even be possible to be completed. Many architects condemned Anish Kapoor, for they believed his sculpture would be structurally impossible to complete. Yet after around 2 years' delay, Cloud Gate opened with determination. The Bean now symbolizes a whimsical aspect in the physical piece of art, but also a resilience in the face of critics that Chicagoans now appreciate heavily. Kapoor's contribution to Millennium Park is now an iconic feature of Chicago's public art, breaking down barriers of that which cannot be done.
Public art offers a common ground for all who come to Chicago. One doesn't have to be from Chicago to understand how significant art is to the city community, which is one of the most important reasons that so many tourists come to this city. This is apparent in the abundance of it in each neighborhood, benefiting the citizens through the amount of free art available. One doesn't have to speak a specific language to understand art. Art is the universal language, which is why these installations are so influential, memorable, and lovable to those who visit and live in Chicago.